Hi, in this video I will discuss about a simple Java application which inserts a lot of rows in a MariaDB instance, all those rows being in a single transaction. In order to showcase this scenario, I am going to use Eclipse IDE, which is the best framework, the best editor for Java. It works both on Windows and Linux, and on both operating systems it works basically in the same way. So the Eclipse IDE version is from 2021. 3 months ago. This video is recorded in September 3, and almost 4 months ago. No, sorry, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, from 06 to 09. Okay, this is the this is the Eclipse IDE for enterprise Java and web developers. This is the biggest version of Eclipse. Eclipse has multiple versions, smaller kits and bigger kits, and this version has all the plugins installed. And we can use enterprise Java, and we can create web applications with Java-based web applications. Okay, this is the main Java part. This is the Java file with the main function. Usually the core of this application. Basically, this is a project with multiple sub-applications, and this application is showcasing how to insert data in MariaDB with Hibernate. And this is the main part of the logic. And basically it's inserting in one transaction. So this is the beginning of the transaction. If everything is okay, all the 55,000 records are committed at once. Otherwise, if anything goes wrong, everything is rejected, and the database it's rolled back to to the way it was before the beginning of the transaction. And inside the begin transaction there is a loop which it's inserting some data. And the data basically is the user object. The user object is described in user Java file. And in order to connect to the database, we are creating a Hibernate connection to the database instance. And this Hibernate connection, it's using Java JDBC with MySQL JDBC connector, and this is the link where the database it's located. Okay, and now this is the presentation of the Java environment, and then a few words about the Linux environment and the MariaDB instances. I'm using Vagrant and KVM, kernel virtualization. I'm using kernel virtual machines with libvirt. And from Vagrant file, I'm creating 2 CentOS 7 boxes, and in each one virtual machine it's called master, and the other one it's called slave. And when the Ansible script in Vagrant file configures that after the machines are started, MariaYML playbook, Ansible playbook, it's executed in order to install MariaDB in the master host. MariaDB, of course, will be installed as master, and in slave virtual machine, MariaDB will be installed as guest. In the master virtual machine, port 3306, which is the default port of MariaDB, will be forwarded to basically the local host 3336. It will be forwarded in by Vagrant. The host from the host physical machine, which is a laptop, Lenovo Legion. So from my physical laptop, port 3336, it's redirected into the virtual machine on MariaDB default port, which is 3306. And in physical laptop port 337 is redirected by Vagrant into the guest virtual machine in port, which is slave virtual machine on port 3306. So this is port forwarding set up by Vagrant between the physical laptop and the MariaDB ports in the virtual machines, because I want to access from the physical laptop. I want to access database ports inside the virtual machines. In this time I'm not using Virtualbox. This time, as I said, I'm using, instead of Virtualbox, I'm using kernel virtualization. I'm using libvirt libraries in order to create kernel virtual machine, to use kernel virtualization modules. Okay, let me show a little bit MariaYML, the Ansible script. This is the Ansible script, basically. In the Ansible script, it's installing MariaDB repository, MariaDB 10.3.31. It's installing the repo. This is the first Ansible task. The second Ansible task, it's installing MariaDB server from this repo. So it will be MariaDB 10.3.31. This is the latest. Afterwards, the third Ansible task is to install MySQL Python, and then it's starting MariaDB service. Then, in order to create master-slave replication, I must have I have to create a replication account. In this case, the replication account is called REPL, and also I'm creating a read-write user who can connect into the database and can this read-write user and the password. So in the script, in Ansible script, I'm creating also the user. I'm putting the password for the user, and also I'm setting up my CNF MariaDB configuration file to listen on all addresses, to be able to connect on virtual machine from the network. Basically, I want to connect from physical laptop. I want to connect into the virtual machine, and for this purpose I want to have access from all IPs to bin the address on 0000. So there are common tasks. After the common tasks that are creating on both machines, afterwards you see hosts, master and slave, and after that those tasks are executed only for master host and the other task for slave host. And of course, the master on the master host, MariaDB has server ID 1. In slave host, MariaDB has server ID 2. This is needed for replication. Also, both tasks that I'm having here are for creating the replication. In order to activate the replication, first we have to activate the bin log for the master. In order to activate the bin log, we have to replace in server CNF to uncomment log bin line, and then after uncommenting the log bin file, we have to restart the MariaDB service. And of course, to reset the bin log. Those commands must be executed on the master host in order that MariaDB should be master. On the second host, in order that MariaDB to be slave, after changing the server ID, we have to set up replication. In order to set up replication, we have to connect locally and to tell to the slave that who is the master. So the master is the IP. In the slave, we have to put the IP of the master, which is the user for starting the replication, and the password. And then in the replica, restart my SQL service, and this is the Ansible script which is creating the master replica, primary replica or master slave environment. So this is all about creating the virtual machines with an Ansible script using kernel virtualization. This time I'm not going to use Virtualbox. Okay, this being said, I'm going to log out and to check the status of Vagrant. In order not to create a long video, I've already executed the Ansible script, and the virtual machines are already created and are already running. And in this way I'm connecting to master again. I'm going to switch on the root, and with my SQL command we are inside MariaDB 10.3.31 as we have in the Ansible script. Okay, on the other side, so this connection was, this is my physical laptop, and from my physical laptop, Vagrant SSH master, I am connecting into the virtual machine. Into virtual machine I am switching to root, and from root I am entering into my MySQL instance. In my SQL instance, I've created an empty database called ServiceNow. As you can see, I'm in the MariaDB instance in ServiceNow databases, and there are no tables, empty set. Okay. In order to showcase also the forwarded ports, how the forwarded ports are, so this is my laptop, and in my laptop on localhost, so in this way I'm not connecting into let me get out. So the master virtual machine has IP2 on subnetwork 123. 121 was a test that let me check again. 121. So 121, it's another virtual bridge. It could be possible that I've tested previously. I've tested kernel virtualization also with 1-to-1 network. That's why there are two networks. So these are all the networks in my laptop. So this is Ubuntu Focal 20.04. Let me check the version inside the virtual machine. It's CentOS. So in the virtual machine it's CentOS 7.8. Okay. As this is the Vagrant file which was used to start the virtual machine, and in the Vagrant file we have requested CentOS 7. Okay, and I didn't specify which CentOS version, and not specifying a particular CentOS version, automatically it's installed the latest available one in the moment of creation. So as this was recently created, so that's why it's latest CentOS version. Okay, and let me go. So These are the IPs in the virtual machines. So this is the virtual machine with CentOS, and from physical laptop, which has Ubuntu, as you can see, I am executing the command, MySQL command, to connect on localhost, but on port 3336. Why? Because the port on the host physical laptop, the port 336, it's redirected in the guest virtual machine at port 3306. So this is 3 and this is 0. This is the port difference. And I'm connecting on localhost on port with 3 times 3 in order to get inside the guest virtual machine 2306. 2 times 306. Okay, and this is connection. So I can connect from physical host directly with MySQL client version 8.0. So from physical laptop host with MySQL version 8 client, by connecting on local port 3336, but on localhost 127.0.0.1 being the local host, I'm forwarded by Vagrant configuration into the virtual machine, into the primary, in the first virtual machine. If I want to jump in the second virtual machine, I can say I can select port 3337 on localhost. So on localhost, 3 times 3, 6 port, it's redirecting in first virtual machine, which is the master on MariaDB instance. And if I'm connecting on local, on physical host, on local port 3337, I'm forwarded into the second virtual machine on MariaDB slave instance, replica instance. So now Now everything being explained. There is one way in which I can connect with MySQL. I can connect putting the IP of the master 192.168.123.2. So I can put the IP of the guest virtual machine, and if I'm connecting in this way into the primary, I'm not putting 3336, I'm putting 3306, and in this way I'm not using the port forwarding. In this way I'm not using port forwarding from the laptop host, physical host. In this way I'm connecting on the virtual machine, and when I'm connected in virtual machine I'm jumping to default MariaDB port. So this is the second way to connect to the primary, and in this way of connection, because the Java application from Eclipse, it's running on the physical laptop. This application it's not running on the virtual machine, so that's why I have to connect via the default MariaDB port and the IP of the primary instance and the database, which is ServiceNow. And this database, as we saw, has no tables. I'm going to connect back into the MySQL. So no tables in ServiceNow database. And if I want to count how many records are in the tables, of course no records, because the table does not exist. All the sources are in a Git repository. Let me say a few things about the Git repository. My Git repository, it's on GitHub, and the project, it's called ServiceNow or Never. This is the link, which was this project was for this video. This was the link used to clone the repository into Eclipse. And how, as you can see, I'm performing all this in Linux, but in my Git project page, I'm having a link to my YouTube account, and in my YouTube account I'm saying how to do this, how to clone and how to run the project on Windows. This video, as you can see, it's done on a Windows machine. So basically, what was I doing here on a Windows machine? I'm explaining again on what's in this video. Some of I'm saying in this video. I'm saying again, but this time on Linux. Okay, so this is the GitHub account, project from my GitHub account. So in order to as I was saying, in order to clone this project, we have to execute git clone and this link, git clone, and the project link can be taken from here, copy paste into the clipboard, and we are cloning in local machine with git clone. How to install Git on Windows, how to install Maven on Windows, how to install Java on Windows. I have under my video, I have all the documentation to install everything on Windows and to clone the project and to build the project and to execute the project in a Windows machine. So as I said, after Maven clean command, of course after Maven it's installed, with Maven clone, the project is cloned from GitHub repository into a local machine, and after the project it's in local machine, we are building the project, the source code, in order with this command from Java source code we are obtaining a Hibernate, a Java jar file, and in order to execute the Java jar file, this is the way to execute the appmine Java file from the Hibernate Maven. This is the Hibernate Maven Java package, and in order to execute the main function of this package, gcg Hibernate Maven, this is the package and this is the main function. In order to after the Hibernate, after the project was packaged into a jar file, in order to execute the appmine function from the jar file, this is the way from the same folder, of course, where the project was built, where the jar file was created, in the same location. I'm executing and I want to execute in parallel two processes. So in two terminal tabs, I'm going to launch. I'm going to launch one, and after let's say 20 seconds. I'm going to launch the second and to watch the master and replica, the slave. So first one, as you saw, one more time, there is no table, no data. And I'm going to start the Java, and now after the program has started, the table was created but 0 files. And now let me start the second thread, and I'm watching the first thread. Now I have 50,000 because first thread is finished. Let me check on the slave, also on the slave. The second thread is still ongoing. So the second thread was committed. Now I have twice in the primary and the replica also twice. So this means that I have 55,000 records inserted twice, because I had two transactions, each transaction in a separate process. And when I immediately after I started the two processes, I saw only that the table exists but there are no rows. Why? Because the rows are visible into the instance only after the transaction is committed. So after the loop with all 55 records it's executed, so only after we exit from the loop the transaction is committed, and only then we can see the records in the database. And my purpose for this video was to have no deadlock. So by inserting in parallel threads in the same instance, I wanted to make sure that the process does not have a deadlock. So and now let's check the columns. As you can see, those are the columns: user ID, created by, basically it's null, created date, and username. So we have select count, then we select all, so as you can see User ID, it's an auto increment and it's a primary. Created by, it's administrator. As you can see, created by administrator, and username editor plus I. Editor, and the index variable. It's a difference between user ID and editor, because index variable was twice from 1 to 55,000. Okay, and the created date, when 5 o'clock, 4 minutes and 15 seconds, basically. 0411 seconds, 5 seconds, 3. So all this insert was about minute from minute 03:33 04:15. So less than 2 minutes. And now let me check the slave status. So as you can see, the slave is functioning. This is the master. Slave IO running, yes. Slave SQL running, yes. And the slave state, slave it's ready to receive new data from the primary. So let's check the master status. So the master bin, it's the file, the binlog file, which is at 00001 position, 01 file, sorry. So this is the file, master bin 01, and then the position, which starts 708 and ends in 768 and ends in 768, master log position. So as you can see, the master replica works, and IPA pipe long. So 123.3. This is the IP of the replica, and the master 123.2. So .2 it's the primary, .3 it's the replica, and I can connect. Let me connect. Previous connection was to the primary. Let me connect to the replica. And let me execute the same command. So 110,000 records. This is in the slave. Let me connect also in the primary. So there is the same. This was the about how the Java application works. And now let me import once again in the Eclipse. Let me import once again. I'm going to import in Eclipse again the project. Switch workspace. Let me I'm going to create a new workspace in order to import again the project. File, import from Git, project from Git, next. Clone. I'm going to clone from the GitHub web account, and from GitHub account I'm going to copy into the clipboard, and after it's copied in the clipboard again, projects from Git, clone URI, and now because I copied into the clipboard, second time when I selected the Git, it's auto-completed the GitHub location, and in order to download it without being able, if I want to update my GitHub account, my project, I'm entering authentication, user and password for my GitHub account, but in this part I'm just showing how to clone and to run. Okay, next I'm selecting the defaults, I'm leaving the defaults. Next, and I have to rename it because on the local partition I have already this folder, demo cloning demo. This is the cloning demo. Next, defaults. Next, finish. And now the code is downloaded, and here it is, the source code again, the Java file, the mine Java file, the Java object which is creating the table, and the table it's created from resources, the Hibernate MySQL. This is the JDBC connector, which is in my GitHub. But in order to execute in another laptop or in another server, this link has to be changed with proper IP, proper port, proper user, proper password. And if the default settings are changed, this code can run with MariaDB and MySQL. Well, if there are errors, of course, for each error, the SQL can be adjusted. Okay. So, and as I said, after we have here on the terminal, so now this is the cloning demo where the data was, as you can see, this is the read-only. This is the on the service now or never read-only. This the read-only project was I used in order to insert the data into MariaDB, and the cloning demo folder, as you can see, in read-only target I have the jar file, and in the cloning demo I don't have the jar file, and in order to create the jar file, I'm executing the Maven clean package. And I've in the service now never cloning demo, now I'm having the project jar file, which can be executed with, of course, in order that the new project which was downloaded, of course, should have the proper JDB connection string in order to successfully run. And in order to be successfully executed, after Maven clean package, there is the command Maven execute Java file from the jar package. So this is what I wanted to say in this video. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye.